Kia ora e te whānau, welcome back to On The Record with Ray, a Play It Strange podcast. I'm your host Ray, award-winning artist, producer, engineer, and Play It Strange alumni. We're here to unpack different corners of the music industry in Aotearoa, one episode at a time. Today we're discussing something that's on every artist's mind at some point, funding. We'll talk about what music funding is out there, who can get it, and how to write a good funding application. Today I'm joined by the very best person for this kōrero, Teresa Patterson. Teresa is head of music at NZ On Air and has worked across nearly every corner of the industry, from artist management to music festivals to major labels and lots more in between. Teresa is a true wealth of knowledge when it comes to music in Aotearoa. She's managed huge names like 660, Scribe, LMNOP, and been involved with touring international artists locally for the likes of Snoop Dogg, Spice Girls, Van Morrison, Flume, Leon Bridges, and loads more. She was chair of the NZ Music Managers Forum, on the board of Music Helps and the NZ Music Commission, helped establish Soundcheck Aotearoa, and is currently on the board of Big Fan. Whew, just need to take a breath there for one moment. Teresa has also won the MMF Manager of the Year Award 3 times and has won the Best Independent Tour Award 4 times and won the MMF Industry Champion Award 2. Sheesh, whānau, talk about industry champion. That is industry legend status right there. Kia ora, Teresa. How are you doing today?
Kia ora. Actually, I feel a little bit overwhelmed after that introduction.
It's a lot of cool things.
Yeah. It's because I'm old. I've been around a while.
That helps. More time to do a lot of cool things. Well, thanks so much for joining us for this kōrero here today, Teresa. I think we're all about to learn a lot, myself included. So for those who might be totally new to the concept of music funding, can you give us a small intro into what it is and why it exists?
So a thing that a lot of people don't know is that we're only one of 3 countries that has music funding.
Wow.
There's us, there's Australia, and there's Canada. So New Zealand On Air started in 1989. We're actually the Broadcast Commission. A lot of people also don't know that. And it was created around the Broadcasting Act, which was, obviously created in 1989. And initially it was funded by TV subscriptions for households that had TVs. So it was created for screen, to fund screen productions. But then that finished in 2000 and it's been funded by the government via Ministry of Culture and Heritage. And the music funding's been around for like 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a background into music funding in New Zealand.
And why was it created? What was it was obviously created to make content. It was obviously created to help with Aotearoa
local
culture.
Content for local audiences. Yeah. So all our outcomes are broadcast outcomes for local audiences for New Zealanders to tell their stories.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, to compete with, all those international stories.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're on only one of 3 countries around the world. That's pretty special.
Yeah,
that
have this kind of funding.
Yeah, beautiful. So what organizations are there in Aotearoa that do offer music funding? Can you give us a quick breakdown of the different types of funding available?
Yeah, I can't speak super knowledgeably to other agencies' funding, but I do know that Creative New Zealand has some music funding. And also the New Zealand Music Commission has funding through their Outward Sound, which is for export.
That's right.
If you want to apply for funding to tour or to go over to, perform at like international trade fairs like South by Southwest or Big Sound. There's APRA AMCROS have a little bit of funding.
They do.
As well.
Professional Development Awards or something?
Yeah, and Recorded Music New Zealand have a little bit of funding as well. So it's just go out there and research, go to all of those websites and see what's available.
And Te Manga Paho.
Oh, you're right.
I got you.
Apologies.
All
Te Manga Paho, absolutely. They have obviously te reo outcomes,
That's
so
right.
it's to do songs and albums with 50%, at least 50% te reo.
Yeah, awesome. Beautiful. All right, then let's start with the one that you know heaps about, being the head of NZ On Air Music. What kind of NZ On Air funding, what kind of artists is NZ On Air funding designed to support? And at what level of their career?
So because we're the Broadcast Commission, our outcomes are broadcast outcomes for audiences. So we're not really suitable for like new and emerging artists. It's for artists who have released some music, who have started to build their own audience and their fan base, have got some streams on Spotify, Apple, etc. Maybe has had some airplay on commercial or student or iwi, So, yeah.
So could you just break down for our emerging artists about what some of those broadcast outcomes are? What are the different types of broadcast outcomes?
So, yes, streaming, which is Spotify, Apple, YouTube, those sort of platforms. Commercial radio, which is your My FMs, Georges, Edge, ZMs, Hodaki, The Rock, etc. Student radio. So there's there's BFM in Auckland, Active in Wellington, Control in Palmerston North, RDU in Christchurch and Radio 1 in Dunedin, and also iwi radio. Then there's a massive iwi radio network throughout the whole of the motu.
Gotcha. Okay, so what do artists need to have sorted before they even start their application?
I would say, obviously, a song.
That helps, some music.
Yeah.
Yep.
So a song and for it to have a demo.
Yep.
And then just look at the criteria for the round that you're applying in and just see what is applicable to you, really. Just remembering that you're expected to have release some songs and have some, decent streams and, and or have had student radio airplay or whatever. Yeah, that would be the thing.
So one of the key areas musicians seek funding from Aotearoa is the new music single funding, which has 30 criteria options and you must meet at least 10 of them to apply. Can you please talk our listeners through some of these criteria for us?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I'd want to say that you can see the criteria on our website.
Cool.
If you go to our website, then go to the music funding section and then into new music single, you'll be able to download the criteria. And the reason why the criteria is there and we require a minimum of 10 is to show that you have got some traction and you've started building an audience.
Yeah.
And so it's broken into questions around your online audience, so just like streams of songs that you've released before, etc. Broadcast track record, just whether you've had any airplay, any sort of other media platforms editorial, like if you've had any interviews or reviews or that sort of thing, like performance track record, just if you've done a headline gig at a venue that's received, you've had over 100 people attend, things like that, if you supported, major artists and business, just if you've got a manager or a publisher or a label or that sort of thing, and then awards and recognition. So those are the sort of areas.
Cool.
And
break it down into those subheadings. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. And as an ex-music manager, actually that list of 30 are really good career goals for artists. So I think it's sort of a great list for artists to, look at and just say, this is the sort of things I want to achieve.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, when I was starting out, just looking at those criteria lists when I first started applying for funding, it was super helpful for me to just, like, be reminding myself of what I should be aiming for and, like, how, like, there's little things I should be checking off, like, as I'm releasing music and as I'm growing my career. So I think it's like, if you haven't hit 10 yet, like, that's totally cool. Like, the more you release the music, the more likely you're just going to start ticking those things off.
Yeah, exactly. Release music, do gigs, And
even, like, print off the criteria, put it on your wall so you can actually, like, literally, like, tick them off one by one as you start, like, getting better.
Yeah, because also the criteria is just to get you into the round as well. It's not an assessment thing at all. It's just to be able to get into the round. We do new music single 5 times a year. We used to have around 250 applications each round, but we've just slightly tweaked the criteria and as of this year added the requirement of a budget, and that has reduced numbers a little bit. Yeah.
People are scared of the numbers, eh?
Yeah, maybe they are, but we also made
our friend.
We also made some changes to new music single, to all of our funding actually, but a new music single, we added the artist creation fee on top of the budget. So it used to be $10,000 and the artist creation fee was 10% and part of the budget. But I noticed, because I've been at New Zealand On Air now for 3 years, that a lot of artists weren't taking up that artist creation fee because 10 grand can not be enough money to record and to do video content and to market and promote. So we've put the 10% artist creation fee on top of the 10 grand and it's ring-fenced and mandatory. So the artist does get paid now, because before all the funding used to go to everyone else, like the recording studio, the producer, the engineer, your video content maker, and the artist who none of these people would have jobs. Oh, sorry. None of these people would have had jobs, try not to hit the mic, if it wasn't for the artist and the song.
I think that's a really good move. Thank you for that.
That is okay.
Because, like a lot of the times with these music funding, like you say, it goes to everyone else and then the artist pays themselves last if there's anything left over. And like, especially like it's music funding, you don't want to be spending it all in the video, on video or something like that. So it's like, I think that's super cool.
Yeah.
Because we need to eat as well, don't we?
And also the other change that we made is we changed the drawdown so they're all advances.
Yeah.
So it used to be 4 drawdowns, with the first one being an advance of 4K and the rest were reimbursement on receipts. Now it's 3 drawdowns. The first drawdown is 8K.
Yeah.
So now you can go receive the funding, go and do your recording and your video.
Awesome.
And then the second drawdown is 2K. Hopefully that's going towards marketing and promotion. And then the last drawdown is the artist creation fee.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that was why we also included the budget, because we needed artists to understand where or how they were going to be spending the money, since they were going to get, like 8K.
A big lump sum.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that might scare people if they haven't seen that kind of money in their bank account at once. So it's good to have it all planned out, how you're going to do it. Cool, just going back to criteria for a moment, I think it's important to acknowledge that like once you hit that 10 minimum threshold, that just means like you're in and you can apply for that funding. Like the difference, but like it's not going to make too much of a difference when you're applying for funding if you meet 10 or if you meet 28 of those correct. 30 options, right? As long as you're in there and you've got some numbers behind you and you've got a good song, like that's still going to be sweet for your application, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the round is assessed on the song and the broadcast potential.
Gotcha.
So just to give a bit of background into the assessment process, there's 7 assessors on the panel, only one of which is from New Zealand On Air. The other 6 are from the industry. So there's always a commercial radio person and we rotate throughout those commercial radio stations. One's always a student radio person, and again, we rotate throughout the student radios. And then the rest are made up of various industry people. It could be a producer, it could be music manager, it could be people from other music orgs, but it's people who have a broad understanding of all genres and appreciation of all genres, are used to listening to demos. So our experience of listening to demos and, are going to listen and assess fairly. And then they get sent all of the songs, which is between 150 to 200 each round, for 30 grants. So you can see it's highly competitive.
Yeah.
They listen to every single song and they will look at the application form, but they're really focusing on the bit at the end where you're talking about who you're going to work with, like what you're going to use the funding for. So who you're going to work with, the producer, the studio, like who your video team is, who your marketing promo team are. And then they submit a top 30. And then there's an assessment hui. So none of the assessors know who are on the panel. It's completely independent, including the NZ On Air person. The first time they meet is at the hui.
Nice.
And then we go through the list of songs, from the songs that have the most amount of votes down to the least, until 30 are funded. And every single song is played again. And every single song is discussed. And there can be heated discussions in those panels, because the assessors take the job really seriously, because they are looking at 150 to 200 songs to only give out 30 grants. So it's a long assessment hui. It's about 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
4 hours with a bunch of heated exchanges.
Not always heated exchanges.
Not always, okay.
But there are some people that will, really fight for songs. So
I do like about if you follow like NZ On Air Music on Instagram or whatever, that you guys usually post photos from these hui. And I think as artists that are just, sitting at home and doing these applications, sending our music in, like looking at photos like this and seeing like the actual faces of the people that were listening to our music and like making these decisions, I think it personalizes it a bit and makes it a bit less scary.
Yeah. And also, if you don't receive the funding, absolutely contact us. A lot of people have asked that after each round that we just automatically contact all of those that haven't received funding, but we're a small team of, 5 people. And when there's 180 approximately, 170, 180 applicants that weren't successful, we just don't have the resource to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But if you contact us, we will absolutely talk to you about it.
That's true. Yep, the NZ On Air is always there for a reply to an email. Like I remember when I started applying for funding, like I think I had to apply about 10 times before I was successful, and like I just kept going, like I just kept applying, and I even like you said, I emailed you guys, and I came into the office when I was up and
Yep.
came for a visit up to Auckland. I grew up in Wellington. I came up and I had a meeting with Jeff and I forgot who the other lady was, and they just had a chat to me about my career, gave me some advice, and then and then I just started checking through the criteria and getting better and better, and eventually got the funding.
Yeah, that is the thing. If you don't receive funding, it's not because the song is not great. There are a whole heap of quality songs that don't get funding. It's just because of the volume of applications.
Yeah,
unfortunately, yeah,
that's just
and the
nature of the
limited
game.
amount of grants that we have.
Yeah. So as an emerging artist, there will be some criteria points that are easier to meet than others. For example, having more than 2,000 social media followers or being playlisted on Spotify might be more achievable than doing an international tour or something like that. So if an emerging artist is aiming for new music single funding in a few years or soon, what are certain criteria that you would recommend them aim for, like first over others?
Yeah, so that I couldn't answer that because each artist and each band are different,
Yep.
And their goals and their vision for their career are all different. So just look at the criteria and just see which ones you want to aim for.
See
and then
which
go
ones
for
are
it.
close. If you've got 1,900 followers on social media, then keep gunning for that 2,000.
Absolutely, yeah,
That's true.
absolutely.
But yeah, every artist is different. They're on their own trajectory. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if
Super
it was
valid.
a blueprint,
Yep.
everyone would be super successful and famous. So
Yeah.
there's not a blueprint. Everyone's different and everyone's journey is different.
That's right.
So
And we're all on our own timelines. Some people take 10 times applying before they get funding, and some people get it on their first or second try.
yeah.
It's just the nature of the game. But yeah, like you said, there's 250 applications?
Now it's around 100, between 150 to 200.
150 to 200,
Yeah.
30 of those get funded every round. So it is a competitive process. NZ On Air are only able to fund, that's less than 20% of the applications. What can a musician do during their application to help them have the best chance of receiving that funding?
Because new music single isn't really application based, if you know what you mean. Like it's completely, we ask the assessors to listen to the song and, assess on its broadcast potential. So just write the best songs that you can do and
Make good music.
Yeah.
Whatever that
means. And but I would advise to, in that section at the bottom where you are talking about how you would use the funding to elevate the song or, make sure you put in the details about who you're going to work with, what's your producer or engineer, what studio, which video team, marketing, promo. Make sure in the budget that, like, you don't have to necessarily put all of the details in there. Like, you can just say, I'm going to spend 4K on the video or whatever. But make sure that you've got some marketing and promo in there as part of the funding. And I do find that artists really focus on the creation and don't focus on what happens after it's going to be released.
That's right.
And you're in an environment nowadays where 120,000 songs being uploaded every day to Spotify. So it's sort of never been easier to release a song, but I think it's never been harder to get noticed or to get breakthrough.
Yeah, stand out from the noise.
Yeah. So really, really have to think about how you're going to be building your fan base and building your audience, and sort of like, don't be scared of the words marketing and promo, because it's not what's the right thing to say? It's not something that you have to be super trained in, if you know what I mean. It's just sort of understanding how you can reach your audience and make sure that you're really schooled up on, like, all of the Spotify tool for artists and all of the Apple tool for artists. And, Amazon's a great outlet nowadays. They've got 4 million subscribers in Australia and New Zealand. Understand about
Which Apple does?
Amazon.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Sort of, make sure you understand which social media is right for you as an artist and for your audience, and lean into that. Don't feel like you have to be on TikTok if TikTok is not where you feel comfortable at. But yeah, just really understand those promotional tools and or get people to help you. That's what the funding's for. So,
and be specific about who those people that are going to help you are. Like, if you want to use the funding to work with Heidi, for example, who we talked with
Yeah.
earlier, or another publicity company, then you talk about their name, talk about who you want to work with, like you said, which studio you're going to work with. If you want to put some budget towards making some social media videos and making some good TikTok videos, talk about that separately from the music video.
Yeah, well, you don't even have to do a music video. It's just video content. So for some artists nowadays, doing a full-length music video isn't right for them and their audience. You know, you may want to spend the money on doing really good, you know, social media visual content. You can do that.
Yeah, like for me, for my singles now, I'm spending like a quarter of the time making the music video and then 75% of the time making short form videos for Instagram and TikTok. So yeah, like maybe that's part of your plan. And if that's part of where your audience is and how your music is likely to be consumed, then you should put that in the plan, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're successful with being funded, we have this long-term relationship with the Music Managers Forum where you get 2 mentoring planning sessions. So you can actually sit down and talk through your plan or get some advice on the marketing and promo side or on the social side or, you know, or just, planning the whole release, you know.
So that's anyone who gets funding can access that?
Yep.
But they don't have to? Is that?
No, they don't have to, but why would you not? It's like
I would recommend
sessions.
that.
Yeah. And also if you don't get funding, just join the MMF because you get access to all those mentors anyway.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you're an emerging artist and you might need a little bit of guidance through that stuff. Having those kind of one-on-ones, video chats or whatever will be super beneficial, I think.
Yeah, well, that's the purpose of the Music Managers Forum. It's realistic that there's not enough music managers out there for the amount of artists that are there. So this way you kind of get access to music managers and be able to get their advice and help.
That's right.
So,
Plethora of musical industry knowledge gems.
Exactly.
That's what we
Couldn't
like.
have said it better.
You really? You reckon that was said well? All right, I'll take it. All right, cool. So apart from new music single, what other funding sources are there? So we've got New Music Kids, New Music Pacifica, New Music Pan Asian, and also Aotearoa. Could you give our listeners a brief explanation of these grants?
Yep, sure. So they're all single grants.
Yeah.
So the same premise as New Music Single, where it's funding up to $11,000 for one song to record, do visual content, market and promote for the release. New Music Kids are for those artists that create content for children.
That makes sense.
Yep. New Music Pacifica is what we call a focus round. So New Music Pacifica, Pan Asian and Aotearoa are all focus rounds. And Pacifica is obviously for artists of Pacifica descent, Pan Asian for Pan Asian descent, and Aotearoa is a co-fund that we do with Te Manga Paho.
Cool. We love a good collab.
Yes, exactly. And it's for 25% te reo. And then the other funding that we have is New Music Project, and that's if you're a more established artist, and there's definitely criteria to get into that. You either need to have 1 or 2 songs with over 100,000 streams and over 5,000 followers on one of your social media platforms. And that's up to $55,000 to do a project, which could be like a series of singles, as a lot of artists like to release nowadays, or an album or an EP.
Cool. Yeah, as someone who's got New Music Project funding a couple of times, it's definitely something that is awesome as an artist to be able to work on like a whole project rather than just single by single. But yeah, I think as you say, it's something that you build up towards, right? Like you want to have a couple new music single, you want to have a couple NZ On Air singles kind of under your belt. And so you can tick off more and more of those criteria kind of before you start applying.
Yeah, because it's actually getting hugely competitive as well.
Good to know.
The numbers have just ramped up in the last couple of years. So it's really great though that artists are getting to that level, in New Zealand. Yeah.
Awesome. And with those more specific ones, those focus rounds like New Music, Pacifica, Pan Asian, Aotearoa, if you're, say, non-Pacifica, but you've written a song or like you've got a song with some Pacifica mates or something like that, or it's a collab track, does that make it eligible?
Yeah, if you're a band, you have to have 50%.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sweet, that makes sense. And that 25% thing with Aotearoa, I think that's awesome too. I think that makes that quite achievable.
Yeah, absolutely. And also a great stepping stone if you're looking at Te Manga Paho.
Yeah. So
funding for 50%.
You could start with trying to do a Aotearoa and just do a song with quarter and te reo, and then if that goes well, you might be able to work your way up to 50% te reo plus, and then you'll be eligible for Te Manga Paho. And we have more awesome reo music out there in the world, which is obviously one of my big kaupapa. We love it. Cool. So we've talked a bit about how to write a good application, how to write a strong application. On the flip side, what are some common mistakes that you see that might weaken the application?
That's a difficult question because it's not one of those applications where there's a huge amount of writing in it.
True.
Yeah. So
It doesn't have to be new music single, but it could just be the funding in general. Like,
I just think I would say with any actually application that you do, whether it's with us or any of the other funding bodies, is just really read the criteria and what it is that needs to be in the application.
Yeah.
And speak to that.
Read the questions.
Yeah.
Answer the questions. Keep coming back to the questions.
Yeah.
I think that's very good advice. Like, yeah, as artists, sometimes we want to take things on tangents and just swing the questions to do like talk about this or something like that. But like, yeah, like you say, you as an assessor, you are looking for an artist that's really answering the questions and just giving them the information that you need and that you're looking for, right?
Yeah, well, because new music single, again, it's about the song and the broadcast potential, and the criteria questions that you answer just get you into the round.
Yeah.
So, just as long as that you've filled out, you've talked about your team and who you're going to work with, and you've filled out that budget, then, there's not really any other advice.
I think as artists and as creatives, a lot of the time we get a bit scared of having to write things. Like it's not, sometimes it's your strength, sometimes it's not. And a lot of us have been using things like ChatGPT to help with that. What are your thoughts on using ChatGPT to help things like writing applications in general?
So we've actually started asking in all of our applications across music and screen just some information on AI just for data gathering.
Yeah.
Just to see how people are utilising AI, whether it's in the application or at the other end when they're creating content. The one thing I would say though is that you can kind of tell when someone has used like ChatGPT to write an application. It won't make you stand out. And if you talk to other funding agencies where you do have to put in, much bigger applications, they all say that as well. Like you can definitely pick the ones that have used AI to write the application. Yeah. So I would, you got to make sure that what you're writing, when you're writing the application, that it is coming from the heart. I mean, we're talking about, music here. It's all about the heart, isn't it? And the creative and the emotions. So make sure that's in your application.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that is super important to have your personal flair and everything in your writing and your applications. But I also think that sometimes there might be uses for ChatGPT to we use it sometimes to help summarize our tools or just to help rephrase things that we've already written. And I think in that case you can use it, but the more that you do yourself and the more that you edit it and the more that you put your own personal touch to it, the better it's going to end up sounding.
Absolutely. And I know a lot of artists use it to write their bios or their press releases because they're super scared about, writing that, not wanting to, wanting to make sure that it's really good. So it definitely has its uses.
Yeah. Just use carefully. Teresa, what's one misunderstanding you think people have about music funding that you'd like to have cleared up?
That if you don't receive funding, it means that you're not a success, and it purely is the volume. It's contestable funding. So, and again, as an ex-music manager, I've been there. I've had artists who've received funding and had great success with the song and then didn't receive funding again, So, and I know it's disheartening, but I always said to my artists, we're going to plan to not receive funding. And so we're going to, make sure that we can get the money to do the, the recording or release or whatever. But if we get funding, it just means that instead of being here, we're now here. It means that we can now work with that producer.
Yeah.
We can now go into that studio, So, if you don't receive funding, it's not because you're not good, Like I said before, there's just so many quality songs that don't get funding because you're in a round of 150 to 200 for just 30 grants.
That's good to know. I think the whole funding thing, like just not getting accepted is all just part of it. Like no matter what stage of your career you're at, like even the big artists, they don't always get accepted for their funding. Just learning how to deal with that and how to keep moving and applying for the next one is just a super important part of being an artist.
I mean, it's the same in all parts of your career, isn't it? Like you may not get that festival slot, you know, you may not get that great support slot, or you may not, you know, be put on a gig, you may not get the numbers that you wanted, you know, you may not get that record deal, you may not get that publishing deal. You know, it's all part of, unfortunately, being a creative, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah, things that you have to deal with.
And I think the thing with funding agencies in Aotearoa is they want to see that you're going to do it anyway. Like you're not going to wait for funding to release a song or to do something. Like if you got a big vision for a song and a video or whatever, like, and you don't get the funding, you're not just going to quit and stop. You're going to like make use of what you have and release music and keep releasing music. The more you release, the more you make your own content and build your career yourself, the more other people are going to get behind it and then all that in the form of funding and everything else.
Across the board, like everyone now, like a manager's not going to work with someone.
Exactly.
Unless they can see potential, you know, unless the band has got the drive and is out there, you know, creating opportunities themselves. The same with labels, the same with publishers, the same with booking agents, you know, festivals. So
you got to be in the driver's seat, as we said in another potty.
All of those artists that are really successful have worked really hard to get there. Really, I mean, you know, you're in there.
It's a lot of hard work.
It's a lot of hard work.
I wish someone else would just do all the hard stuff for me, but nope. We got to do it.
Yeah.
And you know, there's no shortage of talent in Aotearoa, but having that combination of talent and drive to just keep doing the mahi, keep getting up, keep releasing the music, keep applying for the funding, like year after year, month after month, like those are the artists that really succeed, right, and have longevity in this business.
Actually, I'd like to say there's also other great opportunities out there, and Mike from APRA may have already talked about this, but things like song hubs.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, creatively, you would know as well that, you know, collaboration can be a really powerful tool when it comes to your creativity, and working with, you know, co-writing with other people, or just being put in a situation where you're in a room with a producer you don't know or another artist you don't know. So also just keep an eye out on what opportunities are out there in the industry, like apply for song hubs and any of those kind of songwriting camps, like Big Fan do them. Because that's just a really good way to expand yourself as an artist.
Yeah.
Also meet other artists, you know, like get to know more people.
Yeah. Cool. So if you're not getting that funding and if you're not getting those successful emails, then these are ways that you can, help working on your career yourself and keep building, right?
Yeah.
It's cool. So we got song hubs, we got collaborating with other artists. Yeah. Putting on your own shows, doing all that kind of good stuff. Like, it all helps, right?
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Yeah. And I love the collaborating thing, like, as well, like, and collaborating, that could be writing with other people, that could be finding some producers to get in the room and help co-write your stuff. Like, I think, well, for myself, when I was in my late teens, early 20s, like, I was a little bit, like, closed off and I wanted to do everything myself and just, I thought that was the way to succeed. But when I started opening myself up to working with other people and working with other engineers, other producers, like, that's when things really started to change and kick off for me. So I think that's really important for our emerging artists to understand as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone was saying, where was I? I was at Yami actually at the beginning of Music Month, and I think it was Jen Widmore that said that writing songs is like a muscle.
Yeah.
And so you have to exercise it every day.
Exactly.
So just write and write and write and write. And out of 100 songs, maybe only 10 are going to be great.
Yeah.
But, you know, just
and then
keep
out of
on
that
doing
10, only one ever gets funding or something like that, you know? It's just the nature of the beast. And also, if you're not getting funding, there's a whole lot of other opportunities and initiatives that are there that you can access if you're an emerging artist. Like, a lot of studios have competitions and things that you can apply for to get your foot in the door. Like, Big Pop has a thing that they're running that you can apply for. Other studios like
Big Fan,
like a lot of Parachute, all of these things. Like, if you're following them on social media, keep it locked. Like, you'll see when they post about these opportunities, and just apply, and you're never going to get these opportunities without trying.
Exactly. Always try.
That's it. Get your name in there. See what happens. So for any emerging artists listening who might feel a bit overwhelmed or unsure of where to start, What's one thing you'd say that they can do this week to move closer to being funding ready?
They could totally contact the team at NZ On Air, if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed about the funding options or the application. Just drop us a line on musicteam@nzonair.gov.nz and someone will come back to you. Joining the MMF, I think, is a great option because you have got access to a whole range of industry mentors, and you can do a whole lot of one-on-one confidential mentoring sessions. So, that would be two things I would say you could do.
So MMF is Music
Managers Forum Aotearoa. Yeah.
Okay, and that's created to support managers around the...
managers, but also self-managed artists.
Okay, cool, which a lot of us are, especially our emerging artists.
Majority are.
All right, cool. Nice. Cool, so I have one last part I had to finish things off. Funding or not, what do you think are the most important things for emerging artists to focus on if they want to build a sustainable music career in Aotearoa? Sharing our art, writing our songs, performing, that's one thing, but we've also got to put food on the table and pay our rent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, when I was a music manager, I would say probably only 2 or 3 of my roster were able to live off their art. So I think as an emerging artist, you're not going to be giving up your day job anytime soon because a sustainable career in such a small country is a really hard thing to do. And I know that a lot of artists nowadays are doing what is called a portfolio career. So while they're focusing on their artists' music, they're also doing things like being a session musician, like whether it's recording or going on tour with other artists or, writing for screen or for, TV commercials or, things like that. So, there are other things that you can do besides while you're still, focusing on you as an artist and, doing your own music.
Yeah.
Doing, music lessons for people and, things like that.
Yeah. Because like you say, we're in this for the long game, and it takes a while to step over from emerging artists to established artists. And like we've mentioned already in this chat, like everyone's on their own timeline. Some people it happens in a couple of years, some people it happens in 5 years. It took me 4 EPs and a couple albums before I was able to quit my day job, quit my part-time job and go full-time music. And even then, being a full-time musician, you stay varied and you still do a few different things. I produce for other artists. I do lots of different mahi.
Yeah.
And funding is just one of those things. It's one of those things in the industry that is there to tautoko our artists and tautoko our music. And like you say, pay ourselves also and help us pay our rent, because that's, super important, because we want our artists to be able to survive and we want our artists to be able to support themselves to create the music and to add to the culture and to just make Aotearoa a happier, healthier, more community-focused place. And how do we do that? We do that through our music, through our music that brings our people together and I love what I do. I love making music, and I hope everyone else that's listening to this podcast loves making music too. And we deserve that funding and we deserve that tautoko. And thank you for all your mahi and supporting us, Teresa, and helping us to do what we love.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's really nice being on the side after so many years, working with artists, and sort of being able to bring the artist lens into the funding side. So, I've been really loving it at New Zealand On Air.
I can tell that you love it, and we love that you love it. Ngā mihi nui ki a koe, Teresa. Thank you so much for sharing all these gems of mātauranga with us today. Funding can definitely feel like a huge, confusing world sometimes, so I hope that through this, our listeners feel a bit more equipped and confident to seek funding for their mahi. All right, that's us for today, whānau. Thanks so much for listening in. Catch you next time on The Record. We'll be breaking down more areas of the music industry. Ka kits!